Difference between literary device and figures of speech. Literary device. A literary device is any literary technique that writers use to produce a special effect in their writing, to convey meaning more vividly, or enhance the reader's experience. Literary devices can involve structure, style, tone, or language. They are the tools in an author's creative toolbox. Literary devices can be broader than just individual words or expressions. They include narrative techniques, structural patterns, and stylistic choices. All figures of speech are literary devices, but not all literary devices are figures of speech. Hence, literary devices includes foreshadowing, irony, setting, narrative technique, symbolism. Figures of speech. A figure of speech, on the other hand, is a specific type of literary device that uses non-literal language to create a special effect or meaning in a literary work. It often involves comparisons, exaggerations, or unusual expressions. Figures of speech are specifically language-based and involve a creative twisting wording. Some common examples of figures of speech includes simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, ironino. Let's look into the examples we used above to illustrate both concepts above. Foreshadowing gives hints about future events in a story. For example, in Romeo and Juliet, Romeo says he'd rather die than live without Juliet, hinting at the tragic ending. Irony shows a contrast between expectation and reality. For example, in a fire station, a sign reads "Fire extinguishers out of order." Setting: the time and place in which a story's events occur. It can include the historical period, location, weather, social conditions, and even the atmosphere. Example: in Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, the setting is Umuofia, a village in pre-colonial Nigeria, during the late 19th century. Narrative technique: this refers to the methods and strategies an author uses to tell a story. It is essentially how the story is presented to the reader, including the structure, point of view, pacing, and stylistic choices. It is the manner of storytelling, the craft choices that determine how a story reaches the reader. It goes beyond what happens, the plot, to focus on how it is told. Narrative technique includes point of view, who is telling the story and from what perspective. For example, first person, third person, narrative voice and style, the tone, diction, and personality of the narrator. E.g. a humorous, sarcastic narrator versus a serious, formal narrator. Pacing: how quickly or slowly events unfold. For example, using short, choppy sentences in an action scene to build tension. Structure: the way the story is organized. For example, chronological order, flashbacks, or nonlinear storytelling. Special methods: techniques that shape the reader's experience. For example, stream of consciousness, presenting a character's continuous flow of thoughts. Foreshadowing: giving subtle hints about future events. Frame narrative: a story within a story. Symbolism: this is using an object, character, or event to represent a deeper meaning beyond its literal sense. For example, a white dove representing peace. Now attempt the following questions in the comment section. 1. Which of the following statements is true about literary devices and figures of speech? A. All literary devices are figures of speech. B. All figures of speech are literary devices. C. Literary devices are always language-based. D. Figures of speech always involve narrative techniques too. Which of the following is not an example of a figure of speech? A. Metaphor. B. Simile. C. Narrative technique. Personification. 3. The time and place in which a story's events occur is called a setting. B. Foreshadowing. C. Symbolism. Tone. 4. In Romeo and Juliet, Romeo's statement that he would rather die than live without Juliet is an example of a symbolism. Foreshadowing. Irony. D. Alliteration. 5. Which of the following best describes symbolism? A. The use of non-literal language to create comparisons. B. Giving human qualities to non-human things. C. Using an object, character, or event to represent a deeper meaning. The arrangement of events in chronological order #, proudly a teacher at Faithing the Gentle.